Hello and welcome to Live Coding Happy Hour today on February 25th. We are happy to be here and talking ServiceNow development with you. But before we get into anything specific, let's do some introductions, and we will start with Earl.
Hi everyone, I am Earl Duque. I am a developer advocate. I'm a developer advocate at ServiceNow. I was previously with a bunch of universities in California and then joined ServiceNow about 6 months ago. We'll go to Mark. That one.
What's up, everybody? My name is Mark Scott. I'm the Senior Platform Architect for Now Learning, and also a big fan of ServiceNow, making ServiceNow content in my free time. So, yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah, before we go past Mark, yeah, you're like the senior architect on the whole Now Learning 2.0 thing that just launched, right? So
yeah, that whole thing that it took, like, everyone was like, "What are you doing at ServiceNow?" I'm like, I'm just here, just kicking it. Like, we're not doing anything. Took a whole year to get out finally, everything. So yeah, 2.0. I'm not the only architect. Obviously, there's more people that are involved, and we've got a great team, and really excited that you guys have been really enjoying the new platform. So yeah,
it's awesome. So if you like Now Learning 2.0, give Mark some love in the chat. And my name is Brad Tilton. I'm a senior developer advocate with the developer program here at ServiceNow. I've been developing on the platform for a while, and I'm excited about today's show. But before we get into the specifics of the show, we have to introduce our sidekicks. Earl.
After weeks of us, me trying to do different beers, I kind of got burnt out. And so I went back to just a classic Jim Beam straight whiskey. This is a bourbon, straight bourbon.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a little much. I'd love to get into it today. So I dug into my stash of, it's called Pumpkin Porter. It's from Four Peaks here in Arizona. It's a little warm out right now in Arizona for a pumpkin beer, but that's all right. I'm going to drink it anyway.
Nice.
I have a Founders KBS, the original Imperial Stout aged in bourbon barrels. So I'm excited about that. Anytime you can age a stout in bourbon barrels, I'm on board. So that's me. All right. So this was Flow Designer Week in the Dev program. We did a show on Tuesday around, what did we do? Flow diagramming, and there was another thing.
Yeah, there was two topics.
I can't remember what the other one was. Somebody will be able to tell us. So yeah, flow diagramming and something else. And then the other big flow designer thing is some of the debugging. And that's what we're going to get into on today's show. With Mark is going to walk us through some of the debugging. And yeah, Mark, maybe you can walk us through some of that and then talk about, like, I know that the Now Learning 2.0 whole deal used a lot of Flow Designer. Maybe you can talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, let's go there first. We, drink our own champagne at ServiceNow, right? So Integration Hub and Flow Designer definitely are on our big, we need to be using this technology, just like everybody else out there needs to be using their technology. So we actually migrated 100% of our outbound integrations for Now Learning to Flow Designer. and integration hub. So no inline flows, no inline integrations, no REST messages defined in the platform. It's all through Flow Designer and Integration Hub now.
Nice.
And okay, so what are we doing today, right? So try-catch air handling, obviously huge, big part of what we had to do. Part of our migration, right? And overall kind of the iteration of our code moving forward, right? You need to make sure that we're handling our errors gracefully. And what I have, first of all, is in the brand new Polaris UI. This is my employee instance, and it's nice and purple. But I have, again, probably one of the more interesting ServiceNow use cases that I could come up with, which was I'm a big fan of theme parks. I love theme parks, and I hate waiting in line. I felt like ServiceNow could probably solve this problem for me. And what I've done is I've integrated my ServiceNow instance to a Node.js API that actually pulls in current wait times for theme parks around North America. And I digest that data and I throw some of that up into a dashboard. You can see that here. And I even get so far down as to break it down by park. I've got a bunch of different statistics that I'm running out of this, but right now it's just a bare API. I didn't put any air handling into this, so I'm hoping we can tackle that today.
So this is to help you determine like when you want to go to different theme parks when they have low wait times.
Yeah, I mean this is
awesome.
This is, I mean, okay, so this top graph is the one that I'm really looking forward to. So not next week, but the week after, I'm going on vacation and I'm going to Disneyland. I wanted to know what days I should plan my vacation around. So what days of the week is the least impactful for the crowds? What days of the week is the most impactful? And kind of, on average, what's the wait that I'm looking, what's my pain point going into it, right? Before I get there. So this is kind of what I've been building out. And I know, do you guys ever have that project that you just kind of bring with you like over and over and over again? You write the same code over and over again.
Yep.
This is that project for me. I've written this a few different times in a few different platforms. This is just the latest iteration. It's just this weird labor of love, I guess you could say. So yeah.
Awesome.
There are a number of Disney blogs out there that would love to have your data.
I know. I don't want to supply it to anybody yet because it's my own.
Because the moment you share that out, then your data is going to change.
Yeah, it's that what's that observation effect, right? The
Barbra Streisand effect, yeah.
Or either one, right? Yep. So
this is a really exclusive live code. So everybody should be paying attention here.
This code exists in one instant. Well, it should be backed up somewhere. It's backed up on my GitHub, but it lives in one instance and it's one data set. And when we sit here and start implementing all of these errors, I'm going to have to go and clean all that data up later. So I hope you're happy. But this is it, man. And it's all through 100% through Flow Designer and Integration Hub, even the digestion of data. I did actually, this was my use case for using remote tables as well. We can even dive into that a little bit and I can show you where I've been using that. But yeah, pretty cool. Awesome. Okay, so I figure let's start at the start, right? First of all, I've got an API here. So this API runs on glitch.com. If you guys aren't familiar with glitch.com, amazing resource. It is an IDE / sort of pseudo host of your code. You can just write it in line right here, and then it just happens to work right away. There's no compiling or recompiling. It just happens. So I love using glitch.me or glitch.com.
Yeah, I think Jace's old Discord bot used to run off of Glitch.
Yeah. And I think Jace is the one that got me into Glitch. So it's awesome. If you haven't had the opportunity to see some Node.js, here it is, right? Here's some Node. It's pretty easy. The startup here, I've got a server.js. That's the file that we're in right now. And it just hosts a couple of routes. So this route downloads the entire database, just in case I wanted that. I don't, but in case we do. This is the one that we're really going to look at here. It's the app.get for rides. This actually goes into that database and pulls out all the wait times for each one of the parks and the rides. This is the workhorse. And this is the one right now where if you see, the only thing I'm doing is if there's an error or something, I'm just logging it to the console and then just responding with an empty bracket. I mean, This is the developer's like guide to air handling here, right? Write it to the log and just do with something else with it. Not
and just
deleting.
keep going. Please
And
don't
just keep
error
going. Yeah,
out.
just
Please don't
pretend like
error.
it never happened. Yeah.
Mark,
So
can you
what
zoom your browser in just to maybe
I'm
once or twice?
sorry, yeah, absolutely.
Hi, Jace.
There we go. Yep. Jason's gonna pick through my code. Yeah, don't. This is bad code, guys. By the way, terrible. This implementation was literally to just extract these rides and get it out and into service now as quickly as possible. So there is a bunch of hacky stuff in here, and don't worry about it.
We've all done it.
We've all done it. We've all been there, right?
No apologizing. Yeah.
No apologizing, right? So literally I just iterate over the parks and pull all the rides out. It's not awesome. But what I was thinking we could do is, instead of doing the correct thing here, is maybe we'll just comment this out. Oops. Well, we'll just move this down a little bit, a couple of lines, and we're just going to return an error. Right? So let's just do let's just throw right here. We're going to throw some Okay, so something bad happened. The very first time we're actually like purposefully introducing errors in Let's Code Happy Hour, right? Like this is this is the easy part. We're just going to break it. So technically, if I go /rides on my app here, which I should be able to do if I could see it. Oops, that was not what I wanted to do. I zoomed in and now I don't know where anything is. We should be able to do. Please hold. I clicked the wrong button.
While we wait for that, we can say Pablo is saying, "Hey, I wanted to tune in and say thank you for adding error handling to Flow Designer. It's been so fun and useful playing around with it."
He's not saying thank you to us, is he? Because we didn't do it.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We're talking about track.
We are ServiceNow. We added error handling.
Yep. Okay, so now I can hit my preview in a new window button instead of, right. I mean, it says there's an error. I don't know what it's actually doing. It's just.
You errored it too hard.
I errored it too good. I did too good of an error. So, I don't know. Let's just return immediately so that. And this is the awesomeness about this, because I have to write the right error into this. But this is awesome because you can actually make the changes in real time and it just updates. Like, you don't have to mess around with recompiling or running nodemon or something like that. I'm gonna cheat here. I am not a Node.js person by any means, so I'm just gonna make sure that we're doing this the right way. Let's just do Node.js. Oh, and it should have been throw. That's what it should do, right? There we go. My bad. My syntax was a little off. Still, it doesn't like it. That's okay. We're going to open Postman and make sure it. That's okay. You'd think it would be easier to make this bad, like not like return something bad. It's the first time, like on purpose, of like, no, I want to see an error message, and it's like, nah, it's handling it all for us. So that's not good.
That's okay. Now we can talk about Postman now too.
Yeah, there you go.
We're just gonna do all the different tools that a developer might use.
Yeah. Postman, it's necessary if you're doing any sort of integration.
Postman's awesome, right? And especially if you're trying to get APIs to fire real fast, this is the way to do it. Like, this is the way to. It's the Cadillac of.
Yeah, it is.
API triggering.
I actually I use in my last position before I joined ServiceNow, I used Postman to write almost all of my API documentation exclusively.
Really?
Yeah, because you can build the post and the all the calls that you're going to make, and then add documentation to each one, and then it publishes it for you into a nice nice documentation format
That's pretty cool.
that's public and hosted by them.
See, I didn't know you could do that. I didn't know you could actually make the documentation yourself in Postman. That's awesome. Okay. So I'm not going to be able to make this error out on my own. So we're going to make it do it because we own the API. So the response.json, we're just going to kill all of this for later. So we'll delete that. We're just going to pull an error in here. So in line, right? All right.
Jordan's saying, did you have a return somewhere in there that was killing it?
Yeah, I tried it both ways.
Okay.
Right. And then we're going to go error code. And let's just give
type of error message.
500. Say that again, Brad?
So that's the best type of error message. It was bad.
Bad, and it
bad.
You just feel bad about it.
Yeah.
I think the only one that tops it is when it just says error.
Yeah. I like if it says it was probably your fault.
Oh yeah, no, it's a pebcac error. Problem exists between chair and keyboard.
It would be a 300 then, right?
Right. Yeah. And then now we're going to get into the subtleties of HTTP error codes. But here's something that I do want to kind of show people, because this does happen quite a bit. And I hate to say that I haven't digested a few APIs that do this. This is not to spec, right? My status code is 200. It should be returning an error message. It is not, right? It's still saying everything's fine. But if I actually parse the error, I'm like, oh no, there's something bad here, right? This happens so often.
Yeah,
like,
it does.
I don't like keying off to the status code, because half the time the status code's set incorrectly anyway. In my experience with API.
Yeah, that's a great point.
I mean, what they say? I always thought I would teach this all the time to people is an API is only as good as its documentation.
Absolutely. All right, so let's now we're out of Node.js land. Let's go back.
Unless it's a ServiceNow API.
Well, no, yes, ServiceNow APIs are infallible. We all know that. I've got the right.
Yeah, our viewership is suddenly dropping off. What is happening?
Come on. It wasn't me, I swear.
We're all fired. That's what happened.
We're all going to be in trouble. All right, so let's go back to more hospitable waters here. So, theme parks. This is literally, I have an app in my instance called Theme Parks, and that just makes me so happy. Okay, so there's not a lot to this, right? So there's two flows. I have one that creates a ride history, which we can talk about later, but this is the one that's doing the work here. This is called Store Rides. Now, what does Store Rides do? Every once in a while, every 5 minutes, in fact, it goes out and it touches a subflow called create or update, or no, I'm sorry, repeat every 5. It creates or updates this. Yeah, get rides. So every 5 minutes, I go through this subflow because I like subflows. Subflows can be called from anywhere, as opposed to a single flow where everything is, if I need to call it from a code, or if I need to call it from a scripted REST API or something else, I don't have that option. So I always try to put everything into a subflow if I can. So I have this awesome subflow that just does this one thing. Again, my favorite, being able to click through this UI where it just opens everything in new tabs for me, is so awesome. Let this one load. Okay. And it has one action called get rides. I know. So we're finally to where the work is being done here. Okay. So here's my action. It's a single REST step. It calls out to my API here, /rides, and that get. So right now, if we call this, we're going to get our error message. And right now I have no logic for evaluating the error. So we're going to have to build this all the way through, from the action all the way up through the subflow to the flow that calls it, is is my understanding of this, right? So the first thing we're going to have to do is add this error condition, which yeah. Okay. So that is going to be interesting, because if my response body contains this JSON, right, I don't want to necessarily go with my parser step, because my JSON's not formatted in that way. So I'm going to have to come through my response body and check to see if it actually contains something. Okay. No help from the peanut gallery. Because I'm trying to, so here's what I'm trying to think through, right? Like my JSON parser step is obviously set up for a completely separate set of data, right? So it can't, it's not going to go to this format, right? So we actually need to be looking at it from the response body. So does that mean I need to actually, boy, it would have been so much easier if my status code would have been like something other than.
If it would have been an actual error, yeah.
Yeah, but we would have been done so quickly. I mean, I guess I could.
It's fair.
Come on, there's got to be a response message.
We can ask the chat. How do we?
I would expect you to have to add the expectation of a error response inside your JSON step, though, in your JSON parsing step.
Maybe. I'm just going to hit the button and see if it works. No, you're right. Okay, so there's something. Important to know what to Google, kids.
Jason's saying response.status 500.
That's code. Yeah. At the same time. Hey, look at that. Okay, so, I mean, it's kind of cheating, right? But that's fine. Status code. Pull my pill over here. Oops, that was the wrong one.
Is there a inline function for translating to JSON?
An inline function,
like if you hover over a condition for if it's a string. Ooh. Like that function, yeah.
I don't think so. Oh boy, if there is, I'm gonna be so happy, but I don't think there is. No. Unless...
I guess the dirty way to do it here would be to pull in the response body and just say contains, then the string of it.
That's what I was thinking about doing. Like you could, so that is one way of doing it. And I have had to do that in the past, right? But we won't get the error message out of that, unfortunately. But I mean, that's not to say that we couldn't do that. I mean, it's just another step that we would have to do in here, right? Because potentially we could parse the JSON straight out as an error message as well, and just have that as a completely separate string, and then, or not a string, a completely separate object. And then from there, we could do the check on our 200 status and then plop it out if we wanted to. But I don't know. Which way do we want to go? Do we want to try to go for completeness, or do we want to go for accuracy here?
We're going for get it done.
Well, I tell you what, we're going to do it this way first, and then when we're done, we can come back and tear it all up and break it again, because that's how it always works. Now I've got a question. What do you guys tend to do in this situation? So with condition 1, where I say, here's the status code, it's not 200. It could be anything other than 200, is there a best practice that you would give people at this point? Like, should we say not 200, or should you look for explicitly for each one of the error codes and handle those separately?
I mean, again, your API is only as good as the documentation. So right. It's like, if you're the owner of the API and you know exactly what could potentially come out, then you could be explicit. If you don't know what potentially can come out of this API because you don't own it, or they might change it or anything like that, then you probably need to do some catching of like basically like an else. Like if it's not any of these error codes, then you need to do something if it's not 200 still.
Yeah. I'm in complete agreement. I'd rather fail open, so I'd rather catch everything than not catch something. So I tend to do things like this where I go, if it's not 200, and even if it's like, again, if it's an error message that I don't know how to handle, I can deal with that later, right? I can log it and deal with it later, as opposed to missing it completely and not knowing that it happened. But
right,
yeah, we'll see. All right, I want to bubble this up. So action API error down question mark. We'll try that. It's a terrible error message, but it's meaningful to me. Okay, now I've learned this one the hard way, and I don't know how many other people have. Gotta hit that publish button.
No, we're in a new season. We all remember to save and activate.
It's a new season. Hey, does that mean if I hit the help button that it won't like stick to my screen anymore?
Whoa.
All right. Well, hey, I thought Errol said it was a new season. Anyway, that's the second most annoying thing when I'm like, you could either publish something and it doesn't publish, and you're like, no, I forgot, but that's on you. That help thing, I don't know who to blame for that one. All right, Subflow. So now, obviously, we're going to have to push this up through our flow, right? So I have the error happening here. Now I have to handle the error in my subflow. So let's see. If an error occurs in your flow, the actions you will add here. So I don't know. What should I do? I've got so many weird things that we could do because I've got such a weird instance. I'm going to have it send me a Telegram message.
I was going to say, like, either create an incident, send an email.
No, it's got to tell me right away.
Connect chat.
I'm on call for this one.
Text message. Do you have a Trilio spoke on there?
Well, that would be neat, wouldn't it? What's it doing? There it goes.
Oh, tweet to a Disney Twitter.
Like, no, that's terrible. That's terrible. I don't want to do that.
It's like a wait times hashtag wait times.
Yeah, right. So there's a couple of accounts that already do that.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, I mean, and I'm not going to say that I haven't been double checking my numbers against them, but yeah. Okay, I'm going to not do that because I just realized that I hard coded a token in there and I don't want to do that. Because I didn't think anyone would be watching. Let's just open a ticket. Come on.
And then you should automatically close the ticket.
So it's just like a record, like fire and forget?
No, I guess you just do log, right? Just log it to system log.
Yeah, you could log it, but here's been my new thing. Why? I'm still gonna have to go like and look at the log at some point, right? My incidents, at least, like that's in your face. Like like when something went down, like that'll get assigned to you. This is my favorite. So let's just do short description in this. Because I want to be able to write something that I know Earl will get. From Star Runner, the system is down. All right, because that's what I always think.
System.
Yeah, you got it now. Description.
We must be like the same age.
Yeah, I know. That's how I know you would get it, and everyone else is like, "What are you talking about?" All right, so what should we say? The ride. Responding. Okay, last thing. This is the boring bits, but this is the part that everybody's got to do. I assign it to myself, right? Come on. Yes, my wife has an account in my employee instance. Done. Okay.
Of course.
Of
Yeah.
course, right? Okay, now, so in true true Let's Go Happy Hour fashion, I guess I'm going to test this. Like, how do you, so once we've done the true false and the air handling, the try catch and the air handling, do we run the test through this? Like, can I actually run this test here and have it like show up?
We're about to find out.
Yeah. You always run the test before you finish talking. That way we don't have to wait for it. It does. Look at that. Now.
Hey,
Everyone drink.
Everybody drink.
Hey, Drake, we did it. Kind of.
Oh man, I forgot
Hey,
how.
we broke it. That's bad. That's an error message. We shouldn't be doing that, but we're handling it.
Hey, it's great when the episode is about breaking things.
Yeah.
We're really good at that.
On
And
purpose.
On purpose. We did this on purpose. Look, it's right here. There's logs, air caught. All right.
To be clear, it's always about breaking things. It's just this time we're doing it on purpose.
Exactly. Yeah, wait a minute. Like, this is the easiest, like, Mickey Mouse well, not Mickey Mouse, but this is like the easiest Let's Code Happy Hour because we were supposed to break it, and then like, you guys threw me a softball on this one. But I have a feeling we're not done yet because I've got it up to the subflow. I need to pipe it all the way through to the flow. I don't know that necessarily that right there was the place that I would want to handle this. Well, no, because I guess in my subflow, right? So if we think about this for just a second, the action gets fired, the subflow gets fired, and then the top level flow obviously gets fired on a timer. If I was to make this the most extensible as possible, right, this is where I would want that incident to be logged, right? Because if I called this from code, I'd want it to be logged here. If I called it from code, if I called it from another flow, so I just happen to put it in the right spot now that I'm thinking about it architecturally, where I'm like, no, this makes sense. But for the completist at home, why don't we add it to the flow as well? So we'll publish this one. And this is just so that everybody understands, like, the way of doing an action to a subflow, and then the subflow, like, I mean, I really thought about, when do you use a subflow? How often is this going to be reused? Probably never, but I still put it in a subflow. This kind of that's exactly what we did with Now Learning, right? So every time we're using an integration, every time we're interacting with a flow in Subway, if it doesn't need a direct trigger, we build a subflow out automatically, right? Then we can figure out what's going to trigger it down the road, be it the flow or timing, things like that. And that's what I've done here. So
in Now Learning, if I register for a course, I'm using a subflow, right? At some point.
If you register for a course, yes. I mean, almost any interaction that you're going to have with Now Learning, right? We sync that data back to Criterion, Web Assessor. So when you go and take your exams, right? Web Assessor actually maintains all of the test taker information, right? So you're going to go and take a certified application developer. You can take it on Web Assessor. That transcript, right, gets pushed back into Now Learning. Well, sometimes we have to tell Web Assessor, hey, they're CAD, right? You have to have a CSA. So you have to have a prerequisite. So we push all of your learning, all of your microcerts, all of that gets pushed into Criterion and back. We also then, obviously do some data mining on that in other properties, right? Partner Portal has a lot of information about what you've taken and how you've gotten certified, because that's how you get partner points, and that rolls up into your partner work. There's a litany of integrations that we've had to, I don't want to say the word rewrite, it's just re-engineer and re-architect and rebuild inside of Flow Designer. And it's been, we were joking about it before, right? Like, it took a year. Rome came along. This air handling thing, this was not here before. We had to take everything back to the drawing board and figure out how we were going to do air handling, about midway through. This is a very, very important topic, right? Like air handling and how you're going to manage this, where you're going to, and again, like I said, why are we logging this crap? Because that's what I told my team. Why are we logging this, right? Like, what's the point in writing it into the logs if I still have to go fix it anyway? Open an incident. It's much more actionable. It's all of these little things that we've learned over the last year and a half now of now learning.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So just for fun, let's throw this air handler in here. Let's do something else. Maybe there's some flow logic. So let's just say that, I don't know, what the subflow comes back with an error. Is there a way we can switch on top of that? Let's just, maybe it's not. So maybe this time it's not that we need to. Maybe we do need to send an email.
Maybe it's one of those situations where maybe not on your app, but say the API sometimes. Maybe once every week I'll get one error because of I hit an API limit or something. Yeah. And so instead, just log the last record that it has.
How about, what if we did this? What if we knew that there's a maintenance window, right? So, okay, this happens. This context record for get run. I'm trying to. Run, start date and end time. Of course, easy. Come on, ServiceNow. You're amazing. So what if we did, or what if it was, I don't know, after and then
yeah, we've got
got it. Okay. Sorry, go ahead, Brad.
No, you keep going.
No, my brain just went, oh yeah, I need another data pill for that. Because I was just going to hard code it, but I can't. Interesting. Okay, so it's got to be relative to another data point that we have for this this pill picker.
I was going to say, we have a really old example of something where it would have been nice if we had used some flow designer error handling, where we pull meetup data into one of our instances that shows like when past meetups and future meetups are scheduled and who's registered and a bunch of stuff from meetup.com. And it just stopped syncing. We know that because we looked at meetup.com. There's some future events. They're not in the instance anymore. So I spent a good amount of time deep diving and couldn't figure out why it wasn't working, and finally kind of ran some background scripts that ran our REST integration and got back an error code that said, we are discontinuing REST support as of January 31st, and you have to rebuild your integration with GraphQL.
Wow.
So that was a thing where, if we had some sort of error handling, well, to be honest, if we had some error handling built into the integration itself, maybe we would have found that out. But I didn't build that, so I won't throw anybody under the bus. But if we had Flow Designer, using that and using some error handling, we might have known right away and been able to fix it a little sooner. So that's the thing we have to go.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm looking at this going, there's a subflow. So like, I could just build out a subflow that has that condition, right? A time condition in it, or like what you're saying, where it's actually looking for something like, is this a different data set than what I'm normally used to, right? Like, that's huge. And then, I mean, especially with this stuff, right? Like, this is Flow Designer, guys. Like, this is the bread and butter here, because I can write you want to log it to Splunk, log it to Splunk. You want to log it to anything, it doesn't matter. We joke about an email or a text message. I'm like, that's probably the worst possible things, and those are the ones you can do right out of the box, right? Like, we have all of this capability to just plug this in right here and start monitoring all of this right away. And I think that's huge. I'm super excited by the potential in this, and we're going through and making sure that all of our flows are set to be air handled properly. Now learning moving forward, but I mean, I think everyone's going to have to do it, right? It doesn't matter. And to your point, Brad, like when a third party vendor stops supplying, right, the rest just stops happening, right? We're not going to do this anymore. Like, how do you know that, and how many people actually are looking for that, and it's not just break? I think that's part of a long-term scalability kind of conversation that you have to have with people is how are we going to make sure that if something changes in the long term that we are not reacting to it, that we know that it's going to happen. I mean, writing it into your API response is probably not the best, but there's the, where we digest these things, we've got the air handling. You're going to know about it way, way, way ahead of time.
Yeah, I mean, but for us, it was 4 weeks before anybody realized something was wrong. And, what was wrong was that our whole integration that we build doesn't work anymore. So we have to do something new. So yeah, building in some error handling like this, it's not even like having to forward look at what may happen, because I don't think when they built this they were thinking like, oh, maybe REST won't be supported at some point.
Right.
REST, of course, it's going to be supported.
Right.
So it's more of a like, handle what we can't look forward to and what we can't expect.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what this, if we had done that with Integration Hub and Flow Designer with error handling, which we couldn't have done it when it was written, but now if you would do that, you would have kind of caught this.
Well, you could, right? You could. It was hard. It wasn't fun, but you had to write conditionals for every little response that came back.
Yeah.
And so I like this as an overall approach where it's like, hey, how do you want to handle this? And what do you want to do in each one of these cases? And this is going to be phenomenal. I think for a lot of people to be able to just air handle on this global level. And by the way, I want everybody to take this away too. You've got this on the action level, the subflow level, and the flow level. So there's no reason that you can't bubble errors up. There's no reason that you can't write actions that have proper air handling in them and allow somebody else to just handle it in the flow down the line, right? Like it's here, the granularity is here, the customization is here. I think this is awesome. Can we I know this wasn't like super scheduled, but this is Let's Coding Happy Hour. Can I show you guys some remote table stuff?
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
You're not gonna.
All right.
Okay. All right. So but this is my remote table pitch. Like, can we do a couple of like, I'm going to give a background on remote tables and why they're awesome.
I love it. Yes. Let's talk remote tables at 43 minutes in for anyone who's doing time codes.
Is that what's going? Oh man, 43 minutes in. Okay, good. We've been vamping for a little bit. Remote tables. A remote table is like having a table that it only exists in memory in your ServiceNow instance. I know a lot of people are going to go, well, who cares, right? But when I hear that, I go, ooh, a new tool for me to abuse, right? It's so cool because so let me just show you a remote table definition real fast. Remote table definitions are super, super awesome. They are actually a query that just builds a table for you. And the intention is to be able to just do this on like an integration. So let's say that you have a large amount of actually I've got a really great use case with Todoist, but so I've been pulling in like Todoist stuff, I guess you would call it. Like Todoist is my it's my task management app. Okay. And it's a lot of fun to just kind of mess around with this. But what I've been able to do is build a flow that goes out to my Todoist and pulls in all of my tasks. And there's some metadata that I'm pulling in here, but that's kind of the big thing. It's metadata. I don't really care about it that much, right? It can change and it can be different and it doesn't really matter. So I literally used one remote table on this, and all this is pulling in is my projects for Todoist. I did something similar with my theme park app too. It's just pulling this stuff in. And what's neat, you can see I just do a for loop here, and then you do vtable.add_row, and this is how you're adding rows to each one of the virtual tables. Super slick. Or remote table, I'm sorry, not virtual table. Shouldn't call it virtual table. That's kind of what I would like to call it. So I just want to show you guys how quickly this kind of runs, because the very first run on this takes it a hot second. Here's what is really, really, really neat about this. The second run on this, it's all cached. So it only takes, whatever. It was when I'm actually doing the queries, I could actually show you where I do the queries. When you pull that in, it's super, super fast because it's cached, like up to like, you can set the cache and the TTL, time to live. So how long will this cache actually persist? This is like, for me, this is like a playground, because I'm like, I can build a table like in code. I can do whatever I want with this, and it's cached. So I've been playing with this for like caching mechanisms and things that need to be pulled down, like metadata. This looks like a real table. Inside of everything else, this looks like a real table. So all my references are there. I've got a primary key. You might call that a sysid, right? But I get to control all that, and I can make references even to this data, even though it exists only in memory. I can make a reference field back to this and actually link data back and forth that's completely volatile in my system. It might just disappear overnight and change to something else. That's okay. That's what I love about this remote table stuff. It's so cool.
Now, so in the chat, people are talking about like what's the difference between certain things. How would you describe a view versus a remote table?
So a view is a way of defining different, I would say pulling in different data sources, right? So let's say I have table A and table B, and I want to see both of those data coexisted. Like, that's a great use case for a view. If you're going to do a join, you got to do a view in ServiceNow. Why this is different is because this is code that's pulling this together. So it's not a join. There's no constraints, right? So I can put conditionals in there, ifs, switch statements, whatever I want. And as long as I just output that row at the very end, it's done. Now, it's not, I'm going to use a big word. It's not like polymorphic, right? I can't change.
Whoa.
Yeah, I know. It's a $10 word. Once the table has been defined with the fields, that's the data set that I have to work with. I can't change. I can't be like, oh, I'm just going to add a new field and it's just going to pop up over here. It's not how this works. So with like a view, if I'm joining tables and I do like an ambiguous join, it might just pop up over there. This, I'd have to rebuild my entire, it's a table definition. So it is defined as a table.
Okay. Yeah, because I was thinking about it in the sense of permanency and what's happening in the background. Like, I think about it as a view is building off of like database SQL queries.
Yep.
So it's building it all the time based off of existing tables, like you said, for sources.
Yeah,
but remote tables aren't any of that. It's just almost like a facade of a table, but that you could still act on. It's not actually existing anywhere.
Exactly. If you want like every time this table exists, right, it runs my query. That's the thing. And
okay, that's a great way to put it.
Yeah. So every time this table comes into existence, my query gets run. So there's two, well, unless it's cached, right? So there's a trade-off here, right? One, if I have cached data that doesn't change, like metadata a lot, awesome. This is a perfect use case for this, because you just fill this damn table up and let it go, right? And it just changes and does whatever it needs to do. And what's neat about this is I don't have to manage the data lifecycle, right? So there's no deletes on this table. I don't drop it, right? I just rerun the query and it just pops back into existence. So that's what's kind of neat. It's a little bit more it's a little bit more flexible, I would say, than a view, whereas I'd have to, do a physical insert, to your point, right? With the RDS, right? Like I've got to do an insert on that. This doesn't require that. I could query an API. I could query 3 APIs if I wanted. Technically, and I'm not advocating this whatsoever, but it is one of those fever dreams that I've had about this. Couldn't you cache this, right? Like, I could write a view of 2 tables and then cache it, and it's a remote table, right? Like, I don't know. I've thought there's, this thing's rife with abuse. Like, there's some cool functionality we could do here. But I just kind of wanted to show that off to people and let them know it exists. Go find it. It's been a lot of fun. messing with this thing. You do learn a lot about how the underlying table structure works in ServiceNow. Let me tell you, you cannot report on a remote table. It doesn't. It don't. Not so hot. There's some, obviously it's running some queries and doing some caching on the reporting side. So if it's got to run this over and over again, it doesn't work so great. There's limitations with everything. So
I mean, at that point, if you're trying to do anything more than just accessing data from that API or something, then you probably should just store it and make a table or something
in a real table.
Yeah, and you're gonna know. And so the reason I bring this up with Todoist, and we're talking about API integrations, is this was awesome for my metadata. I tried to do the same thing with the ride data and the wait times. It just wasn't awesome. Like it just wasn't. It didn't work the way I thought it would. It was kind of a little funky. Like for example, a business rule, right? Like on change business rule. When does that fire, right? Like I have no idea. Like in a remote table that I'm defining the query, how do I say that data changed? Right? Like it makes you kind of think a little differently. So yeah, it's been a fun little interesting rabbit hole to get into. I haven't used it anywhere in Now Learning. If anybody wants to ask that question, I haven't found a use case for it yet, and that's because there is a 1,000-row limitation to this, which I would want because I don't want to eat up all of the in memory. I don't want to dump the heap in my ServiceNow instance.
Oh, so what Mark is saying is once you hit 1,000 records, just paginate to a different remote table. Got it?
Yeah, it's just remote table name _2 now. You got it. Yeah. I worked in an environment. That's how they fragmented. Like that's how they did their indexing on a table.
Oh, they made more tables.
They made more tables because it was.
Oh no!
It was super inefficient. It's got like 1 million rows in it. It's like make another table. No, don't do that.
Oh, and now imagine if they needed to cycle tables too.
Yeah.
Or like archive that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, thankfully, they handed it. This was before my ServiceNow career. They handed it to me and said, "You fix it now." So yeah, it was fun. Yeah, this is all I got, guys. I'm running out of gas here.
This is great. No, I think we're good. Yeah,
awesome.
Here come our faces.
Here come our faces.
Whoa. There's no easy way for me to warn people about that when I put people's faces back on.
I like the warning. Normally, Earl doesn't give me a warning. He just puts my face up.
Just shows up.
Yeah, usually it's an ongoing joke, right?
I'm prepared for this. I knew it was going to happen.
No, Brad, honestly, even you don't know how many times I don't put faces on because I'm like, oh, Brad's head is down. Can't put our faces up right now.
That's fair.
As much as I like to flash your face in front of the screen, I try to watch out for you too.
I got a haircut. And I shaved my beard, and I went, oh man, like what? Like I'm not Brad enough now. It took like 2 inches off, and I'm like, man, like
hashtag not Brad enough. Let's make it go.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's make a trend. Not Brad enough now. I'm gonna get t-shirts, man.
Yeah,
making it a thing. Hashtag not Brad enough.
Not Brad enough.
All right. Well, thanks, Mark. That was great. It was a great example of how to use a try catch block and lots of other Flow Designer stuff. And I love all of the Now Learning like internal bits. Now Learning is such a good example like for all of us because it's a thing that I think probably every ServiceNow developer accesses, and a good example of like something is built totally on ServiceNow. It's all using Flow Designer. It's such a cool thing. So yeah, thanks.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, we take a lot of pride in that because I used to point at other ServiceNow properties, that had awesome user experiences, and now I get to look at, point at Now Learning. Like that's what we can do on the platform, man. Like that. Don't let anybody tell you can't do it because it's right there.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Like the first time I used the Now Learning 2.0 and I searched something and I saw the search results, I like laughed out loud because there were so many options to filter the search results. I was like, this is incredible. Like I can find whatever I want with the filters on the search results. This is great.
Yeah. No, it's that's been. I mean, people are like, "Thank you for search." Like search
Yeah.
works down. We're believe me, we're going to continue to put effort into that because even to this day, I mean, we still use it. Just like you said, Brad. Right? Like internally, we use Now Learning, right?
Yeah.
And externally, we use Now Learning. So we're still using it. We're still finding better ways to make it. Or still finding ways to make it better. Search is definitely one of those where I'm like, still not, it's not good enough yet. Like I want it to be super sharp and super clean, and I know everybody's working on it. So yeah, it's gonna be fun.
That's great. Awesome. Earl, how was your bourbon?
It was solid. I was drinking it so that I could loosen up and start being more sillier. So it ended up working. So I would probably give it a solid 4.
Nice. Mark, how about you?
I mean, this is always my limited October release, and so it's one of my favorites. It's definitely good. Good luck finding it though.
Yeah, you got to give it a number though.
Oh yeah, sorry. I'm gonna give this one 3.5.
All right. This is my KBS barrel-aged Imperial Stout. It was really good. I'm going to give it a 4.5, which is pretty high for me.
Wow.
Yeah. All right.
We still have not had a fan of the show come across and bring us the data and said, "Hey, I've compiled all the ratings."
I would love to know what I have rated every beer, but it's going to require someone watching, I don't know, 50 episodes and telling me, or maybe 70. I don't know.
And there's a non-zero amount of times where we've accidentally ended the show without reviewing the beers.
Probably. It is absolutely non-zero. You're right. All right. Well, thank you, Mark. Thanks everybody for joining.
Yeah.
And this has been another episode of Live Coding Happy Hour on Flow Designer in San Diego. I would reach out to touch the San Diego, but Earl's going to have to touch the San Diego other way.
I was trying to poke your finger.
Oh,
I drank too much bourbon.
This has been the third San Diego Live Coding Happy Hour. And thanks everybody for joining us. It's been great. Oh, San Diego.
Yeah.
Next week we got Integration Hub coming. So tune in for that.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Earl's got to hit the button while he's making motions.
Cheers.